This Japanese man, about 50 years ago, by the name of Shimonishi Isao, or Isao Shimonishi, they say names different in Japan, forward and backward. He started his research on water when he was into biochemistry. He saw that a tree was growing from a rock in the middle of the ocean. And he said to himself, how is this tree getting its food? It's in a rock. And so he looked further and saw that the rock was a specific type of rock where he began to research and say, oh, a lot of trees grow from this rock. And so he looked even further into seeing what the stone was actually providing. The salt to the ocean, the salt to the springs, and that stone is called mica. And so he went around the world looking for a specific type of mica, a particular mica that had enough mineral content that would make everything efficient so that it would have the right ratios. And so he traveled all over the world for 20 years. He ended up finding his own mica mine in his own country where he started. So he bought the mountain where he found the right mica, he did the test, made the extractions, and proved to the world that the nature is the most powerful purifying agent in the universe. And so what he did was taking these extractions, then worked with raw sewage, slaughterhouse water. They would literally watch, as they added it to slaughterhouse water, carbon dioxide gas off, which is all that carbon waste. So they started to do all these tests, and then it got into the health field, where a doctor started working with it in Japan. So clarity started making its way into the health realm about 25 years ago, and now it's just getting to Americans simply because who needed water 20 years ago? Who was concerned about water 20 years ago? No one. No one thought bottled water would sell for $1 20 years ago, and here we are buying bottles of water for $5. Minerals in general, minerals aren't always good, and they're either good or they're bad in the state that they're in. And two of the most evasive minerals that we've heard of are mercury and lead. How do you get that out of your body? Well, when we test Adya Clarity in water, it precipitates lead and mercury like that. Meaning, if I test that water again, the lead and mercury does not show up. I've literally had people who live in, like, for example, Chicago area. I had a woman who started taking our product. She started taking the super shots. Of course, living in Chicago your whole life, you're going to be subjected to lead poisoning from the air, from all the industry and all the gas that's being emitted constantly. And you're also going to be subjected to the old lead piping. She started tasting lead in her mouth after the first day of drinking the water. And that was her own lead that she was precipitating. Within the week, her fingertips started turning lightly black. She could actually see the lead coming out of her fingertips. By the end of the second week, she was done. And then her mind was more clear, her thoughts became more relaxed, and she's not tense, and so she's not suffering from this heavy metal plague that everybody, kids, from autistic kids to, everybody pretty much has these heavy metal problems. So it's another major key factor. It stores in your pineal gland, which is like activation point. So if you're freezing up all your main activation points in your body, you're just not going to operate properly. And so to achieve a proper health, you've got to get out those multivalent ions that are trapped in your body that cannot move. They're actually converted to an inert matter that's no longer able to even stay in your body. So what the minerals are actually doing, say you have carbon waste in water that's rotting. It's not the water that's stinking, it's what's in there rotting that's stinking. And it has to contain carbon to rot. This will break down that carbon waste and anything else that's dissolved in there and make that stuff become inert and burned out so it's no longer a part of the water, it's no longer rotting, and then the minerals keep the oxygen activated so that this stuff can never grow again or never form back in the water. There is a certain degree where the minerals will be overpowered, but for the initial water treatment, that would be all you need. You could stick the water on a shelf for 1,000 years and come back, and the water's still good. Additionally, if you're using the water, you can put it in your hot tub. For 8 months, water will be maintenance-free in your hot tub. So this is like power beyond anything anybody's been able to show us as far as water goes. Cleaning water is not the problem, it's keeping it clean and keeping it fresh that's the hard part. What we've noticed is, and several men in the past have passed kidney stones with no pain while taking super shots. How do they know they passed them? Well, they urinated them in the toilet. And I've had my own personal experience with a man that had to go to an emergency room with 3 kidney stones. Doctor told him impossible to pass. They stuck a stent in his urethra so he could urinate. 3 days later, after getting on our super shots, passed the kidney stones with no pain. What does this mean? We can obviously see decalcification going on in the body. When people get decalcified, their muscles tense up, they can't stretch, they become achy. Some people call it arthritis, some people call it osteoarthritis. There's a name, rheumatoid arthritis. You can keep going on and on and on. Pretty much everybody's arthritic right when they're coming out of the womb these days. What these minerals do is reverse the calcification process. Take a pot with the scaled calcium in it that you've been using for years. You know, just like in the pipe on your sink at your house, you look in there and it looks like barnacles are on there and they'll never come off. Can't chisel them off, can't sand them off, they're stuck on there. You stick that pipe in our water and then over the next day or so, that stuff will start scaling off like nothing. So that gives you an idea of what it can do to calcification. Right now where I'm at in my life, I'm very busy in the office, so I don't spend a lot of time doing physical activity as much as I would. I'm a very active person, so I would enjoy a more physical life, but in business you tend to get robbed of that some. And what I've noticed is, I'm sitting in an office a lot, I'll stand up and talk, but I haven't been doing a lot of stretching. I haven't done stretching exercises in years. And so this year I was thinking about the calcification process and how it actually helps your body. And so I've experienced the health with Adya and how I feel great. My energy's always peak levels. I can go all day long and still go home and still have the energy to put into my family. One of the things that I've been trying to initially educate people on is the decalcification effects are huge. Humans are ached and plagued based off of this calcification that goes on throughout your entire body, from spinal to joints to tendons. I mean, this list goes on, and even around the teeth. Here's another good one. This is a great one. Dentists have to scrape the teeth when you go get a cleaning. That's the calcification, what they call the plaque that builds up around your teeth. Within a month or so of drinking Adya, just the water, gone. Go to the dentist, and they'll be like, where is this stuff at? I thought you had to clean me for 20 minutes. No, it's gone. I've had several people. In fact, I have a dentist in Chicago that sells this product because of that. Basically what we're seeing is most of these companies are coming out with blood work slides of what their product will do in 30 to 90 days. To give you an example, you'll see in most people's blood that they're not oxygenated, their cells will be stacked like plates. What that means is the cells are all sharing an electron. They're deficient in oxygen. A lot of companies will show this, and then they'll show take their product for 90 days and these cells are kind of separated. A lot of people understand that you can manipulate slides, you can show good sides of the blood or bad sides of the blood. Well, when you take our product, in 5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes after drinking a super shot of our minerals and taking a glass of our water, you will literally see the blood do this, not just on a part of the slide. The entire slide will be lit up, separated, and you'll see these little tiny dancing jigs of light, which most microscopists recognize as a state of health, a primitive health. The other thing we recognize about blood, which I've yet to go into further detail and research about, but something interesting is that when we did our first blood samples with this water, we noticed the blood stayed alive overnight on the slide. This does not happen normally. So that's another thing that we've noticed about the blood. The blood will actually stay alive on the slide overnight. So these are some of the things that we're starting to recognize. There's a lot more. Some of the things I can't talk about, but definitely we're on the cutting edge of pretty much every facet of looking at this under a microscope in the water, EPA testing, international water testing. There's pretty much no test that this stuff does not pass.